Hey y'all, it's Hugh. Alright, so we're gonna go over A Sound of Thunder. Just like I posted with the other story, I want you to have already read this by the time you're watching this teaching video. So you can either read the story on your own, it is a short story, or if you look in the description of this video, you can check. I have posted 2 audios of this story if you would rather listen to it than read it on your own. Either way, I don't care, but we're going to go over the margin answers and we're going to go over some of the activities at the end. So yeah, here we go. All right, so general summary at first. Sound of Thunder by Ray Bradbury. Same author as All Summer in the Day. So in this story, we have a group of rich guys. This is set in the future because it is part of our dystopian unit, so still in the dystopia. And these rich guys, what they're doing is they're going back in time and they're hunting dinosaurs, which I know seems a little sci-fi, whatever, but it's kind of cool. And the story has an overall theme of the butterfly effect. And if you can't remember what the butterfly effect is, or if you've never heard of it, it is a movie. The butterfly effect basically says that if you change even one minuscule thing in history, just one thing, you never know how it's going to impact the future. So you might not think that stepping on that ant is that big of a deal, or killing that wasp is that big of a deal, but it does alter future somehow. So if you already read the story, then you should know this, but quick summary. So to open our story, we've got a group of guys talking about the presidential election. No big deal. It's something normal, especially for us coming up in 2020. They're just talking politics, and they're going back to hunt some dinosaurs. The big rule as they go back is do not step from the path, because when they go back to the future, everything is untouched, including the grass on the ground. They have an elevated path lifted up so it does not touch anything, and that's where you hunt from. If you step off the path, even if you kill one flower, it can alter the universe somehow. It can be the extinction of that flower or whatever. So when the dinosaur comes out, T-Rex, the big one, when the T-Rex comes out, we have our men getting ready to shoot, but here's the thing. They have never seen a T-Rex before, and we know how big these things are. They did not anticipate how scared they were going to be. So they kind of stood in silence like, what do we do? Now, eventually, they shot the dinosaur. And you might be saying, well, Miss Puckett, I thought you just said the butterfly effect, that affects everything. Why are they allowed to go back and hunt these dinosaurs? Well, here's what they do. They go back in time, historically, and they look at, because they're able to view history, we have this technology now, and they pick an animal, a dinosaur, that's getting ready to die anyways. Now, this dinosaur could have been getting ready to die of old age, or maybe they ate some poison, or maybe they ate something they weren't supposed to eat. Because otherwise you wouldn't want to kill that animal, because that animal might be responsible for mating and reproducing other in its species. So this T-Rex was getting ready to die anyways, and they kill it, but it really does not go well. They don't kill it like it's supposed to be killed. It was supposed to be one clean shot, but because they struggled and they got scared, it took a minute for this dinosaur to go down. What they did not realize until they were back into the time machine to come back to the current time, which is actually future for us, they stepped off the path and someone stepped on a butterfly. And you might be thinking, well, it's just one butterfly. I mean, we still have butterflies today in 2020. True. But when they got back to their current time, which is future for us, things had changed significantly. First off, the sign, which is a visual, Time Safari Inc. Time with a Y. That is not how we spell time. We spell time with an I. It says safaris to any year in the past. Okay, so completely written inappropriately. This is not correct spelling. It's not correct grammar, anything like that. You name the animal, we take you there, you shoot it. So ultimately, by stepping on that butterfly, not knowing, something has been altered. They have screwed around with time, which has changed the future, which is something that no one should ever do. Which is why I think if time travel could even be invented, it will never be released to the people because of this. Also, the bad guy for the president won. The tyrant, the guy that they thought that was going to be the bully and take over everything, won. So not only is the language different, but the president is different too, and it's the bad president. It's the one that's probably going to be a dictator. And if you forgot who a dictator is, we talked about this with Adolf Hitler. So not a good guy. Okay, so on the first page here, we're going to go over the margin answers, and we're going to go over the activities at the end. So on the first page here, it says we're inferring and implying. And if you forgot what that means, inferring and implying is kind of like catching and pitching a baseball. If you are pitching a baseball, I'm implying something to you. So if I said, man, I'm real tired today, okay, I'm implying to you that I didn't sleep very well last night. And when you get that idea from my hint telling you that I'm tired, you're inferring, or you're catching the baseball. So it says infer right here. It says pause after you read the sign on lines 4 through 5. This is the original sign written in the plain English language, Times Safari ink. And it says, underline the information that seems unusual. Based on this information, when do you think that the story takes place? Well, the things that are unusual to us in 2020 is that it says you can go to any year in the past and then you name the animal. Okay, because we know like dodo birds, dinosaurs are extinct. All right, and this takes place in the future. This takes place in the future, we know, because this has never happened in the past, and obviously it can't happen in 2020. So it has to take place in the future. That's the only time left, because it hasn't already happened in the past. Another infer question here. It says, pause at line 16. Why do you think that there is such a stiff penalty for disobeying the instructions? Well, okay. The instructions here are, you know, make sure you listen to the people on the safari that are taking you back. Make sure you listen to the guys, and make sure you don't step off the path. Well, plain and simple, if you don't listen, if you get off that path, you could be eaten by a dinosaur, you could die, or of course you can alter the future. We know that. Okay, it says reread lines 17 through 35 and underline examples of figurative language, simile, metaphor. Okay, this is when they've gone back to the future. I've underlined snaking and humming of wires. That's personification, because the wire is humming like you and I would. It's giving that human qualities to an inanimate object. An aura that flickered, now orange, now silver, now blue. A sound of a gigantic bonfire burning all the time. So they're comparing the sound to the sound of a bonfire. That's a metaphor. Okay, the next one, it says, pause at line 43. Who were the two candidates for President of the United States? Circle their names. The names are right here. Keith, and this looks like a German name. I say Deutscher. And then we know that Keith is the one that won the elections. That's what you want to put there. All right, the next one on that page, it says that anti is a prefix meaning against. According to the description of Deutscher in lines 43 through 44, what is he against? Okay, so if you look to 43, 44, this guy, the guy that we don't want to be president, the tyrant, the dictator, the Hitler-like guy, he is against Christ, as in Jesus Christ. He is against humans. He is against intellectuals or smart people, and he's against everything. You could see how that could be a dictator, because if we look back on Hitler, like we talked about earlier in the year, he was against everything too. He was against everything that wasn't, you know, an Aryan race, white, German male, basically. All right, under the identify. And we're on page 4, by the way, if you've lost already. Pause at line 52. What animal is echo hunting? Of course, we already talked about that. A T-Rex, a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And it says interpret. Why do you see these details suggest about Time Safari? Okay. In lines 54 through 58. Basically, Time Safari is very upfront. we put you in direct danger. You know, I mean, we are going back in time to hunt dinosaurs. That's pretty extravagant, or any animal for that matter. You know, there's no other humans around. We put you in danger, but we're not going to take responsibility for it. So if you mess up, if you trip and you get eaten by a dinosaur or something, we're not going to take responsibility for it. So good luck, and make sure you know, keep your head on a swivel. All right, interpret. It says circle the words in lines 76 through 77. That means Eccles said. And what is this phrase? Sorry, folks, maybe I shouldn't have done this outside with my allergies. Basically, it shows us in this paragraph that Eccles is extremely scared. Now, remember, Eccles is our guy that's going back in time. He's not our leader or anything like that. He is extremely scared. He is scared. I think he didn't realize how different the world was going to look when you went back in time, because not only did animals go extinct, but we have plants that aren't around anymore, and everything's a jungle. There's no electricity. There's no sound of the mower in the background. There's no trimmed hedges or anything like that. This is way back in time. No human has touched this land. He's extremely scared. Scared of the dinosaur too, because it's freaking huge. Okay, on page 5 here, identify. It says underline the sentence in 103 to 107 that tells you the purpose of the path. This is the path that we already talked about in our brief summary. Basically, the path is the thing that elevates above the ground so that when we go back in time, we do not touch the ground at all. So we do not touch bugs. If they fly into us, we're not supposed to kill them, okay? We don't touch bugs, we don't touch grass, we don't touch the flowers or the vegetation. We don't touch anything because we do not want to alter history. That's the big thing. The reason why the path is with a capital P is because it's to show us how important it is. When you look at nouns, persons, places, or things, proper nouns are capitalized. That's why, you know, Miss Puckett, I'm capitalized because I'm a proper noun, I'm a title. If you are talking about yourself, if your name's Sarah, you are a proper title. If you're going down to Walmart to get toilet paper later, Walmart is a proper noun, so person, place, or thing, just like Ohio. So the path is so important to us. It kind of is its own place. It has its own place in time. That's why it's capitalized like that, because it is so important. Okay, it says reread lines 111 through 113, which are full of imagery. To what senses do these images appeal to? Well, if you look at it, okay, it says the path is laid by Time Safari for your use. It floats 6 inches above the earth. It doesn't touch as much as one grass blade, flower, or tree. Okay, so if you think about that, a grass blade, that's something that we can feel. That's something that I can see right now. A flower, okay, those are something that we can touch, we can smell. It's anti-gravity metal. Its purpose is to keep you from touching the world of the past. So if you can think about it, where this is like metal, if you're going on metal like that, you can absolutely hear that. You can also touch it. We've got the sight, smell, hearing, and then of course taste. Now I think taste would probably be the one thing that we don't get in this imagery section here, the one sense, because we're not eating anything. So you're going to want to put sight, smell, hearing, and touch, but not taste, because we're not eating anything. Okay, on page 6, it says, what kind of allusions are found in 94 through 97? Lines 94 through 97, which is on the last page. Basically, when we look at lines 94 through 97, it says, Christ isn't born yet, because going back to dinosaur, that's BC, before Christ. Okay, Moses has not gone to the mountain to talk with God. The pyramids from the Egyptians, okay, are still in the earth. So if you look at what type of allusions this is, of course we have historical allusions. So you're going to want to put historical allusions right here. If you remember, we learned about 2 different types of illusions on the 3rd day of school, I think it was. Literary illusion and historical illusion. Literary is when a text talks about another text. So you could actually put literary here too, for biblical, but these are mostly historical illusions. If I was reading this story and it talked about the movie Titanic, okay, that would be a literary illusion even though it's a movie. All right, identify cause and effect down here. It says, in this long paragraph, lines 130 through 155, Travis explains the possible effects of stepping off the path and killing a mouse. Each effect in turn becomes the cause of another. What is the final effect that Travis mentions? Okay, so basically he says that although you think that killing something small is not that big of a deal, it could eventually lead to the potential loss or the destruction of the human race. Because he says, you know, first you kill a mouse, but then what eats a mouse? Well, that predator doesn't have that mouse to eat, so then they might die. So then the predator that eats him is dead because he's dead, etc., etc. It's a chain reaction, and we know we humans, we are the top of the food chain, but we can't survive without everything under us, including animals and vegetation. So eventually, although it seems like a small thing, it could alter the human race, and we definitely don't want to do that when we go back into the past. Okay, on page 7, it says, what type of figurative language is being used when the author compares stepping on a mouse to the Grand Canyon? And basically, there's a couple different things here. First off, it's a simile because we're using the word like. Like or as means simile. Okay, step on a mouse and you leave your print like a Grand Canyon across eternity. It's also a hyperbole, which is an exaggeration, over-exaggeration, because that's what he's jumping from. He's jumping from a footprint to the Grand Canyon. That's a huge exaggeration, or like a big jump. Okay, down here on page 7 still, clarify. It says, what does Travis mean when he says that he's not sure whether messing around in time can make a big roar or a little rustle in history? Basically, he's saying that, truthfully, Travis, our guy here, that he's really not sure. He said that it's so unpredictable, time traveling, because it's such a huge space between dinosaur time and this futuristic time that stepping on a mouse or killing a butterfly, it could change one little thing, or it could change everything. We just don't know. That's why we have to be super, super careful about it. 2 birds are like fighting in my yard or something. It's hilarious. Hope you guys are getting outside, by the way. Some vitamin D. Okay, page 8. It says, identify cause and effect. Pause at line 175. Why do the Travels wear sterilized clothing and oxygen helmets? This is pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory if you think about it. Basically, they don't want to introduce any type of new germ or something that we are accustomed to in the future to past creatures who are not. Imagine if right now in 2020, we have over 1 million people that have been infected with the coronavirus. That's why we're not in school right now. Over 100,000 or something like that have died all over the world. If we took this germ back to colonial America, for example, we might not be a country today, because we could have literally wiped out all the colonies. And they don't have the technology that we have today, and they don't have the knowledge about germs. Even up to the Civil War, people were operating on soldiers without washing their hands, without using gloves, because they didn't know how dangerous germs were. We know that the coronavirus is spread through, saliva, sneezing, coughing, and it can stay on surfaces for like 24 hours. That's why it's so important that you wash your hands. So we definitely wouldn't want to take that back. Something that we've all been vaccinated for example, is measles. If we take that back to dinosaur times, I mean, who knows who we could wipe out? And we've been vaccinated for that, so we don't want to take that back. It's very smart. They've got it all worked out. Very smart. Okay, the next one says, pause at line 190. Why are only animals that are about to die being chosen for hunting? We said this in the beginning, but basically it's because these animals will never have a future and they're never going to mate again to further their species, and we know that. And because they're about to die, we also know that they're not going to be food for any species that might really need them. So that's why we pick them. All right, the next one says predict here. It says reread lines 195 through 202. Now, again, you should have already read this. This should have already been predicted, you know, it's already been done. But basically, the author gives us a little foreshadowing clue here that there's going to be a tragedy, because he kind of foreshadows with us that something's going to happen with the path. Of course, at this point in the story, we don't really know. Now we know because we've already read it that someone steps off the path and kills a butterfly. But at that point, he was foreshadowing for us. We talked a lot about foreshadowing back during Romeo and Juliet. Romeo's dreams foreshadowed his death for us several times, and also foreshadowed, you know, something bad was going to happen at the Capulet party, things like that. Okay, so on page 9, right here under style, it says reread lines 206 through 211 and circle repeated words, then underline the imaginative description of pterodactyls. How would you describe the style of the writing here? Okay, so some repeated words that we've got jungle, we've got the word forever, and we've got sounds. Those are our repeated words. Basically, how they are describing the pterodactyl here, it says that it sounds like flying tents filled the sky. So imagine how a tent sounds, or a tarp filling the sky, waving flag maybe. Okay, the pterodactyls were serving with cavernous gray wings, gigantic bats, delirium, and night fever. Okay, OMG. First off, we've got a good description here. We know what they sound like, look like, and delirium. We are scared to death, folks. Okay, these things are freaking huge. They're so huge they could pick us up, humans, like how a hawk comes down and picks up a little mouse. These pterodactyls could pick us up because we are little, we're food to them because they're huge. Okay, so it's a very descriptive description, which is awesome, but also we're meant to be scared. Okay, the second one is the predict section again. It says the guide for Time Safari keeps telling Eccles, stay on the path. Okay, with exclamation point, stay on the path. Basically, that's foreshadowing to us, folks. If someone is already getting wobbly tobbly or maybe too scared that he might lose his balance and fall off the path, that's letting us know it's probably going to happen, because he keeps saying stay on the path. Okay, he's saying that with very harsh, very direct. We don't have time to talk about it. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, stay on the path. Okay, and then it says pause at line 231 on the infer section. Who might Travis be referring to as His Royal Majesty, all in caps? That is, of course, T-Rex, because we know he is the king back in these dinosaur times. He is the biggest dinosaur. He is a carnivore. He eats meat, and he is the scariest dinosaur. His Royal Majesty. Okay, on page 10, right yonder, it says, why do you think the author compared the dinosaur to a god? Basically here, the T-Rex, he's a big guy. He is scary, very powerful. He can take a human life instantly. I mean, instantly. He can take your life just like God could, or a god, depending on your religion or lack thereof. So that's why he's compared to that. On page 11, it says, how does Eccles react when he sees the dinosaur? What do the guides tell him to do? Okay, Eccles is scared to death. He is extremely overwhelmed. He had no idea how large the T-Rex was going to be. Probably the biggest animal that he's ever seen to this point. would be like what we have, species that we have here, like a big hippo or a big elephant. And of course, dinosaurs are huge. I mean, we are like the size of a mouse compared to a dinosaur, if that gives you any idea. So he's scared, he's overwhelmed, he cannot believe how big the T-Rex is, and he just doesn't believe that it can be killed, even though Time Safari goes back in time all the time and they kill all kinds of animals hunting for sport, including a dinosaur. He cannot believe it. He's in utter shock. The next one on page 11, it says, pause at line 302. What causes Eccles to step off the path? Okay, because Eccles was so scared, because he was so overwhelmed, because he literally could not believe his eyes. He was shocked, and so at first he kind of stood like, okay, he had an extremely hard time moving. He was just like a statue, just standing in time. And then he finally goes, oh. So he starts stepping back to get away, and he takes one wrong step because he is walking backwards. He's not paying attention to what he's doing. Takes one wrong step. Next thing you know, stepped right off the path. The one thing he was not supposed to do. So of course, everybody's freaking out at this point. Oh my gosh, he just stepped off the path. What do we do? What do we do? You know, the dinosaur going down wasn't exactly pretty. It didn't go off maybe as well as they had hoped, the hunt. So on page 12 here, it says, what two things is the dinosaur compared to as all of this is going on? Okay, it's just a big cluster. Everyone's just scared. It's like if we were to suddenly release out of a homecoming basketball game and everyone's just running around like a crazy pants. Okay, right here. So the dinosaur is compared to a stone idol, like a huge monument, if you've ever been to Washington, D.C., and a mountain avalanche, okay? Mountain avalanche, because he can come down, whoo, and take our life just like that. And these are done with similes, okay? It says, circle the words in lines 311 through 318 that helps you visualize the violent death of the dinosaur. I underlined here, okay? So basically we're looking at clutched trees, and pulled when it says the dinosaur's going down, he's clutching, he's taking whole trees down with him. He's not taking a limb or a stick, he's taking the entire tree down with him because he is so huge. Okay, it wrenched and tore the metal path because it did not go like it was supposed to go. He actually tore up the metal path. This is going to cost the company a lot of money as well. When the body hit the cold flesh and stone, the guns fired, the monster lashed around its armored tail. Its tail came around, twitched, and it had snake-like jaws, huge, but very powerful, can eat you. A fountain of blood, it says fount, but it's like what we would say fountain of blood, spurted through. I mean, like, because it's such a big guy, he has such a large amount of blood, it's just spurting everywhere, getting all over everything. It's disgusting. From its throat somewhere, a sack of fluids burst. Ew, okay, that could be his stomach contents or anything. A little grossy-wossy, but cool at the same time, I think. All of this is splattering everywhere, all over the men, all over the scene, all over the path that's been torn up. Oh, it's disgusting. Okay, down here, it says the prefix mal means not or bad. So what do you think malfunctioning means? Basically, malfunctioning is that something is not working anymore. Something is not correct. If my computer at school starts malfunctioning, maybe it won't display on my projector. Maybe it won't let me check my email. On page 13, we've got infer here. It says, pause at line 355. Why do you think the two hunters, Billings and Kramer, do not want to take trophy pictures? Now, this is normal. When you go into Time Safari, one of the things they have displayed in their office is all the hunting pictures of people that I've hunted in the past and killed dinosaurs and animals and things like that. So that's normal, because you can't take anything back with you because it might alter history. You have to leave that dinosaur carcass there for the vultures to feed on it, because it was always going to die in history. Because you remember, they pick something that's getting ready to die. It was always going to die in history, but you have to leave that there for the vultures so they can't take anything back. So they usually just take pictures. But in this case, Billings and Kramer, they don't want any pictures because they are so tore up from what they just saw. All that blood and guts and the fact that Eccles stepped off the path, he got yelled at. It was not a pleasant experience. This is supposed to be a fun hunting and outing for these men for sport. None of that happened, okay? They are emotionally tore up from the floor up, okay? The T-Rex, it died such a violent death. It almost killed them. They don't want to remember that. They just want to get the heck out of Dodge. Get back to United States, Earth, whatever you want to say. I mean, they never left Earth, I guess. Get back to the United States in their time so they can just, let's just forget about this, guys. This was a lot of money spent for not a very good situation. Okay, when it says identify the cause and effect, still on page 13, it says reread lines 369 through 376. Underline what Travis fears might happen because Eccles stepped off the path. Now, basically, here's what's happening. Travis and the company, first off, they fear that they're going to lose a ton of money in insurance and that they might lose their license to time travel because as part of their license and their insurance, the biggie thing is that you cannot step off that path. And even with us, with our insurance, like our car insurance, if we drive recklessly and we continue to do so, we can lose our car insurance. They have a right to take that away. So they feel like their one promise under this whole thing is that you cannot step off the path, you cannot alter history. And they fear that because they did this, they might lose their license. And of course, they fear that things are going to be changed historically because they stepped off the path, which is the big no-no. Okay, on page 14, we've got pause at line 388. What does Travis want Eccles to do as punishment? Okay, so he kind of really doesn't know what to do at this point. He knows he's really upset and he wants to give him a terrible punishment. So what he's going to do is that he makes Eccles dig the bullets out of the T-Rex's head. And the reason why we can't leave the bullets is simply for the same type of reason why we can't step off the path. These types of bullets didn't exist back in the Tyrannosaurus time, so we can't leave those there because it could alter history. If an animal ate that bullet, it could poison them. If it got into the ground, see my cat, if it got into the ground, it could alter the soil. So, you know, normally someone from Time Safari would do this, but they're going to make him do it because they're upset with him because he ruined the whole hunting trip. The second question on page 14, it says, how could line 406 be considered foreshadowing? What event might this be hinting to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So don't look at me, cried Eccles. I haven't done anything. Okay, so Eccles claims that he hasn't done anything. But Travis replies, he says, well, who can tell? Because they're still in the past right now. They literally have to go back to their current time or the future from this dinosaur time to know if anything's been altered. This is foreshadowing to us that, I don't think that Eccles is going to get off that easy. I think he has changed something. Of course, we know that he has, but that indicates to us. All right, so now we're going to go back to 2055, which is future for us, Miss Puckett and her students, but this is the current time for them. It'd be like if we time traveled and came back to 2020. All right, on page 15, the first question here under predict, it says, pause at line 415. Do you think that Eccles will find that he has done nothing, like he said, or what? Okay, we already talked about the foreshadowing. Of course, if you've already read the story like you should have, you'll know that he has done something. He's done something really bad, and we can base that kind of on Travis's reaction. Okay, the next one says under identify, underline the clues in line 416 through 418 that indicate that Eccles' actions have a bad effect on the present life. Okay, so basically when they come back, this is the underline here in this paragraph right after the 2055, it says things were the same, but not the same as they had left it. It says the same man sat behind the same desk, but the same man didn't quite sit behind the same desk. And you might be saying, well, what's that mean? So basically, for example, if we had contained the coronavirus, I would still be teaching this story to you. So it'd still be Miss Puckett. It'd still be the same story by Ray Bradbury, but we would be in the classroom right now. So that's what they're saying. It feels like the same. It's kind of the same, but it's not really at the same time. Okay, this is my favorite hair tie. As you can see, it's getting ready to go. This is also a hair tie. It's the same thing, but a little bit different because it's pink. So it feels the same, but it also feels different at the same time. Okay, the last one on page 15, it says interpret. Circle the sensory images. This is back to the 5 senses of the human here. Describe the Eccles feelings, what something is not right. Okay, I underlined them here in the story, and there's a lot of them here. Okay, it said Eccles stood smelling the air and it had a chemical scent. Ooh, that's not right. Okay, the colors white, gray, blue, and orange in the furniture. The sky flesh twitched, his hands twitched. Drinking of the oddness, whistles that only a dog could hear. Okay, these are a lot of weird sounds, weird smells, things look weird. These are all those senses, okay? And he compares the people to chess pieces on a chessboard. And he says, because humans, we think that we control our lives, but we really don't. And I think that we can kind of connect that to what's going on right now, because this time last year I was going to school, getting up, going for work. Some of you guys ride the bus. That's normal life. That happens every year. From August to May, you guys go to school. We control whether or not we do our homework. We control whether or not we eat the school lunch or we pack our lunch or something like that. But really, the coronavirus has just shown us how much control that we don't have. We don't have control over a world pandemic. We don't have control because the government can just shut concerts down, not let us go anywhere. They can just shut school down if they want to. Just shows how we think that we're in control, but we're really not. On page 16, the last page of the story, it says compare the sign with the one at the beginning. Okay, we've already talked about this. The spelling is totally off. That is not typical English spelling. It says pause at line 462. What was the main effect of Eccles killing the butterfly? Okay, first off, the president that no one wants, the Hitler-like president, won. Okay, he will be more like a Hitler and less like a U.S. president. He hates humans. He hates intellectuals. He hates religion. That's not good, especially in the United States. We're supposed to be free here. Okay, and then right here, interpret what is the sound of thunder. Well, of course, at the very end, when Travis realizes that stepping on that butterfly has changed the past, he feels like he has nothing else to do but to kill Eccles. I don't know if it's necessarily the right thing to do. It's not going to change anything, but he feels like it's the only way, because he has completely altered history in a very, very bad way, in a very serious way. So he kills Eccles, and the sound of thunder, boom, is a gunshot. It's a good story. It's a really good story. Okay, so this page right here is about the butterfly effect. Now, this is hosted on the Google Drive, and it's been completely done for you. And basically, you're kind of like organizing a paragraph. So you write a topic sentence here. I wrote humans start losing all their body hair. And then you write cause and effect, things that can happen. So what can happen if humans lose all their body hair? Well, number one, because humans have lost their hair, the beauty salons and the cosmetology industry has disappeared. Okay, humans have lost all of their body hair, which has resulted in the permanent closing and manufacturing of companies for razor, shaving cream, Nair, hair removal. But if you look on the Google Drive, it says do not copy mine. Okay, your topic sentence might be that the coronavirus has become a national pandemic or a world pandemic. Yours might be that I lost my backpack, which means therefore I can't do my homework, therefore I fail my classes, therefore I get held back. Okay, coronavirus started, schools closed, people are out of a job, we are in a global recession, things like that. Okay, this one's about a time traveler here. Again, it says don't copy mine. basically, these are just opinion questions. It says, if you could go back in time, where would you go? I picked April 20th, 1999, Columbine High School, okay, in Boulder, Colorado. And this is the first big school shooting. I would like to go back in time to stop these gentlemen because I think it's really put a burden on our schools and our future. Now, you might go back in time to talk to your grandpa, which is okay, who passed away. Or you might go back in time to stop the coronavirus so we can still go to school right now. Or you might go back in time to the first quarter and pass language arts with Miss Puckett. Okay, that's completely up to you. It's your opinion, so you shouldn't be copying mine on either of those. But anyways, I hope that everything is good with you guys. I know I do miss you guys. I know it's a little bit crazy right now. Everything's a little bit crazy. But just a reminder of how to submit things. You can take a picture of it and send me the photos. You can type it out on a Google Doc, your answers. You do not have to type the question, okay? Because I have the questions right in front of me. You do not have to type the question, just the answer. You can send it to me like that. Or if you're turning in paper, you can follow the West Union High School Facebook and the text messages and the calls of how to turn things in on paper, okay? I hope you guys are having a good day. Bye.